Which movie villain do you agree with?
Magneto. He always thought humans would try to destroy mutants, and he was right because they tried. He might have not been completely right. But man, it's hard not to feel some sympathy for him after the shitty hand that life dealt him early on. As much as I'll miss Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, I will miss Ian McKellen's performance as Magneto. Him along with his real-life best friend, Patrick Stewart, were absolutely perfect as Professor X and Magneto. Gordon Ramsay from Kitchen Nightmares Gr falls squarely in the anti-hero category. Think The Punisher but for shitty restaurant owners.
Captain Hook. If a little boy chopped off your hand and fed it to a crocodile, you'd probably want to kill him too.
Didn't he only get his hand chopped off because he was trying to kill the boy?
To add insult to injury, he had to get a used hook from a second-hand store. The dad from Dirty Dancing. He was just trying to keep his underage daughter from fucking the local troublemaker.
A local troublemaker he logically thought had knocked up a girl, got her dodgy abortion, and was now trying to fuck his daughter. Dude was just trying to protect his daughter from a predator. From the information he had, T-Rex from Jurassic Park. Also, the Indominus Rex. You made a living kill machine, with abilities that far exceed those of your measures to control it, and expect it to live its life in a small cage like a cat? Heck, even cats won't stay in cages. I was so irritated when I watched the movie. You make a monster amalgamation of mega predators. You give it opposable thumbs. And then you gave it a stealth mode. And then you stuff it in a tiny paddock it barely fits in, away from any social contact. Why the fuck did you think this was a good idea? Quote.
To quote Owen when he first saw the enclosure, the only positive relationship that animal has is with that crane. Doc Ock. I'm not saying that I'd sooner rob a bank than beg for grant money. But I get where he's coming from, monsieur. I just like how that movie was made in the 2000s but still had Ock carrying sacks with dollar out of the bank, and throwing them at Spidey. Dr. Freeze. The guy just wanted to find a way to save his wife. Batman even once tried to help him with it. So many Batman villains either got the shit end of some stick or another, or were just really misunderstood and trying to get through with disordered thinking. Part of the reason I love Batman stories. Colonel Kurtz. We train young men to drop fire on people, but their commanders won't allow them to write "fuck" on their aeroplanes because it's obscene. Quote.
Mewtwo. Making stronger versions of existing Pokémon is basically the point of Pokémon breeding. But if he wasn't stopped, he probably would have killed all of humanity.
General Grievous. His people were massacred by the Jedi for reasons that were false. He was then physically crippled for the rest of his life, our side of his exoskeleton, and was told that the Jedi were to blame. He destroyed as many as he could and took their weapons as a trophy to exact his revenge for the Jedi, ruining his life and pushing his people to the brink of extinction. He's one of my favorite characters. Interesting character and backstory.
Agreed. It's a shame how weak he seems in ROTS. Thank goodness 2003 Clone Wars is a thing.
Not a movie, but Robbie Rotten from Lazy Town. As an adult, you get it? You want sleep. You want cake. You want quiet. You want to be lazy. There were moments where you could be like, I feel ya, bro.
And of course, deep down there, you want to be the number one. Poison Ivy. All she wants is more plants and less destruction.
In No Man's Land, she moves into Central Park the first thing and just stays there. No crime boss approach. No city takeover, just walks into the park. Batman goes into the park, walks back out, and suddenly the city starts getting fed by these fast-growing plants. I don't remember if they explain that part, but of the villains in the Batman universe, she's usually the least tyrannical. I think is the best way to say that.
Hades would not be too happy if I was forced to rule over hell by my younger siblings. Somehow the god of the dead is always associated with evil. Hades doesn't personally kill anyone himself. He just takes care of the dead after they come to the underworld. That is his job. He got the short end of the stick in comparison to Zeus and Poseidon in my opinion. P.S. Edited Hades' job title to be more correct.
That's why I love how he's depicted in the Dresden Files. A powerful chill god who's much more responsible than his brothers and does his duty. Also, a dog person lol.
Wicked Witch of the West. Bitch dropped a house on my sister and stole her shoes, I'd be out for blood too. I mean, when your name has wicked in it, at some point you just have to lean in.
Also, Glinda was pretty evil. She knew all along that Dorothy could have gone home 5 minutes after arriving in Oz. She basically manipulated Dorothy into going on that journey just so she could use her to have the Wicked Witch of the West killed. Luke Skywalker. I mean, obviously he was a terrorist insurgent bent on destroying critical infrastructure. But you can't blame him for his resent about the unfortunate incident with his aunt and uncle.
I like it when writers give the villain a convincing motive like that. Having him succeed there ultimately was really a bold narrative choice on George Lucas's part.
I agree with Ken from the Bee Movie. His GF got pissed at him for trying to kill a bee, something that he was allergic to, meaning it was potentially life-threatening. Frankly, Vanessa was terrible for dumping him because he tried to kill an insect. It's like getting mad at someone for refusing shrimp because they have a shellfish allergy. I know he's not the main villain, but he was the secondary one. Edit. Yes, Barry was a sentient bee, but Ken never knew that. I would also go little nuts if a bee was slowly replacing me. On the shellfish metaphor, I'm sorry, it's not the greatest of metaphors, but I can't think of one right now. I'm open to suggestions. If Vanessa left him for a goddamn bee, then maybe they're better off without each other.
Dr. Do Fench Me, it's no need explain edit. Wow, this explode. Thanks all read our comments. Hades. Not in any specific movie, but just the fact that he's always a villain despite him just chilling in the underworld, doing his job, and not causing mass genocide like the other gods. The worst thing he did was kidnap a teenage girl, but compared to Zeus, the hero in all these damn movies, he's not that bad. Agreed. The vilification of Hades is ridiculous. I kind of understand the Ice King's motives. He's just really lonely and he wants to be friends with Finn and Jake, and he wants a GF. However, kidnapping people isn't cool. He's also just a really great character. He started out as Simon and then slowly went insane after he found the crown and put it on. He forgot his entire identity and became the Ice King. Edit. I was thinking of Ice King before we had very much of a backstory for Hi Monsieur. Sorry if this is a terrible explanation of Ice King's motives. I didn't think very many people would see this. I was just kinda bored. Ice King's desire for princesses stems from half-remembered echoes of Simon's old girlfriend, Betty. Even his insanity was a conscious decision, a sacrifice he made after putting on the crown to save young Marceline. The wolves in the day after tomorrow. Just some hungry bois doing their best. The real villains of that movie were the fools who burnt the antique books for warmth rather than literally everything else in the room, including replaceable books. Not from a movie but Scar from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Buddy had all his people pretty much wiped out by the government and then targets government. Alchemist in Revenge. Brotherhood did such a good job with setting up Scar as a villain, and then slowly revealing the truth about the Ishvalan Civil War. Megamind. But if you were to say that he wasn't a villain, then Hal BC, he's right, there is no Queen of England. He wasn't a villain, he was a supervillain. Oh yeah? What's the difference? presentation! Exclamation mark. Maybe I don't want to be the bad guy anymore. Quote. Edit. Guys, this is a quote from Megamind. Why you all talking about Wreck-It Ralph? I'm bad and that's good. I will never be good and that's not bad.
Chief Inspector Dreyfus from the Pink Panther movies. Maybe I wouldn't have gone as far as he did, but I understand his frustration.
Well, I'm not sure if it was the exact same character, but in A Shot in the Dark, the first movie, he purposefully assigns Inspector Clouseau to the case because he's being paid off, so he puts the most incompetent man he has on the job. So I think it's established that he's a straight-up bad dude. Barbosa and his crew from Pot C1. They found a bunch of gold coins sitting around, traded them as currency like anyone would, and were severely punished for no good reason.
If you think about it, had the rum runners not showed up, Jack would have starved to death or shot himself on the island he was marooned on. So I'd say that Barbossa's mutiny was cause for punishment. Not to mention they threw Bootstrap Bill in the sea stuck to a cannon to die. That's pretty messed up too. The Grinch. He just wants to live alone in his gaff with a dog and the people won't stop bothering him. The iceberg from Titanic. My favorite line from Titanic was Billy Zane trying tilde to say the famous line, God himself could not sink this ship, and being interrupted halfway through. Well done, Jim Cameron.
Mine's, this ship cannot sink. Then they designer replies, she's made of iron, I assure you she can. The puppet master from the original Ghost in the Shell movie. All he really asked for was asylum. Monsieur, there is a scene where, before going on a rampage, it demands asylum and rights to a trial to which the humans pretty much ignore. It's only after demanding its rights then being denied that it decides to go guerrilla. Edit. Yes, I realize the Bureau are the real bad guy, but PM is set up as the antagonist from the start. Isn't the Bureau that created the Puppet Master the bad guy in that film? The brainwashing, mind control and ghost hacking it did at the start were when it was still under their control. After PM asked for asylum, they tried to kill it and Arataki's team to keep from being exposed for conducting illegal research and espionage. Indeed, the other sectioner was covering their tracks after accidentally creating a full sentient AI. The machines from the Matrix. The humans attacked first, going as far as blocking out the sun to end the Monsieur. The machines create a new reality for the humans that is much better than the alternative of living in the sewers in the real world. The only reason Agent Smith became problematic was because Neo gave him new code. I really wanted the actual story to turn out that the machines recognized we had met the threshold. Our planet could survive and that we were doomed. They stuck us in pods while they waited for the doomed Earth to heal. Essentially Waller. They continued to breed us, but in simulation so we could still have choices in propagation. They tried to make a paradise. We rejected it. So they made Earth as nice as possible and tried to give our species the tools it needed to continue developing our culture. They left humans outside of the Matrix to serve as a control group. I think it would have been more compelling if the outliers were the result of the machines trying to leave as much intellectual autonomy in place as possible, and dealing with an occasional neo-unacceptable annoyance to keep humanity's free will. This is my canon as well. They realized we destroyed everything and saved us from extinction and cultural atrophy. A superhuman AI wouldn't want or need to destroy humanity. It would see us as the children we are and save us from ourselves.
Roy Batty. He's an escaped slave who is pissed his girlfriend and friends will die soon anyway from 4-year lifespans they were genetically engineered with. The main people he and his group kills or injures are morally bankrupt genetic engineers who became rich off slavery and corrupt racist cops. The book paints them in a very different light. there. They lack empathy and don't really understand why it's important. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.